The end of the year is rapidly approaching. As it does so, most of us are stuck in reporting mode. But what if this time, before the year ends, you did something different? What if you asked, what should we stop doing? What should we start doing? What needs to shift? And what's actually working that we should be protecting? Because preparing for year's end isn't just about tidying records, it's about real leadership decisions. Welcome to Lead the Standard. Hello everyone, I'm Kelly Taylor and I'm here with my brilliant co-host Jackie Stapleton. Yes, we've had a bit of a break, but we are back and energised. Good morning, Jackie.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Enthusiasm. It's fantastic. I'm glad we're back. We've had a bit of time off to do a few things. We've both been quite busy since we last got in front of the mic. So I guess we'll fill everyone in firstly with everything going on across the business, and we've both had a few things going on in our personal life. You see, I've got a new background again. We've actually made the decision to move this to a fortnightly podcast moving forward. It's one of those leadership compromises that we've made to keep doing what matters. And this podcast matters to us because it matters to you. The feedback you've been giving with us over the last couple of months with our hiatus has made it very clear that you love us sharing these stories, but we also love hearing your comments and your feedback and the stories that you share from applying these ideas and these conversations. So thank you for sticking with us as we keep this conversation going. Which is actually a really good segue into today's topic, which is a bit of a cracker. If you are already feeling that late year squeeze, and I'll be honest, if Jackie asks me about next year's goals while we're still trying to figure out this year's ones and level those out, I might just have a bit of a mini meltdown, but that's really good for today's conversation. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about strategic reflection, smart adjustments, and how the action grid, which is a little bit exciting, can help you figure out what to keep, fix, ditch, or start before the year runs out. So, Jackie, you have called this one of the best framing tools for end-of-year conversations.
Oh, have I?
Want to talk through? Yeah, that's what I read. You want to talk us through what got you thinking this way?
As usual, I was listening to a podcast or reading an article. Something popped up, and I have heard this before, but it was actually a really good reminder because, you get sort of stuck in your day-to-day. And the point or the statement or the question was, what's one thing we should stop doing, start doing, or do differently in the next 6 months? Okay. And as I said, some of you may have already heard this, so I'm hoping this is a reminder for you as well, like it was for me. But when I reheard that and was reminded of it, I thought, of course, that's actually a great question, even though there's multiple things in the one question. It's a great question to ask ourselves in our space, particularly in this final stretch of the year. Okay, so we've sort of gone over the hump and we're in that final burst of the last like the end last few months, or a bit more of the year. So we've still got time essentially. And then I thought, why don't we ask these questions more in our management reviews? So I thought, where does this fit in? Because as I do, where does this fit in in ISO standards? And I thought, management review. So let me think about it with management review. What should we stop doing? What should we start doing? Or what should we do differently? And I thought, that's actually a perfect, set of questions or points to ask in that sort of forum. So I also then added, what will we continue to do?
That's important.
Yeah, because we don't always need to think, oh, everything we're doing isn't working, stop doing that. Or then we need to start doing this. Well, that's great. Or we need to tweak it a bit. But you could actually be doing, let's hope, something that's working. So, of course, we can throw a fourth one in there, and that's what will we continue to do? Because, of course, recognizing what's actually working um, is just as important as finding or being aware or identifying things that aren't working and you need to
Yeah.
stop or just tweak. So I thought late in the year is a perfect time because, I suppose, and it depends what year we're talking about, whether you use financial year or calendar
Okay.
year, it doesn't matter. My point is we've gone, past the 6 month, 7th month. We're in the 8th month, regardless of what year format you use. You've still got this final burst. So I think it's a perfect time to stop and ask these questions and start rethinking and I suppose move forward because you've got months of data, real data behind you. So you've tested it, you've seen what works and what isn't, but there's still enough time left to make changes and to see, oh, is this working with these tweaks or changes?
Yeah. And I think we've recently switched over to a financial year structure. And here in Australia, the financial year is July to June. And we've recently changed over to that for reporting and all those sorts of things, goals, etc., etc. But I think the end of year, calendar year push or mentality is still very much there. Um, so we kind of all sort of get towards that end of the year and we've got that, oh, it's nearly Christmas fatigue kicking in. So I don't think necessarily, like we mentioned, the reporting, the goals and all those sorts of things really do have that impact on that timeline. I think
Mm,
the end of calendar year still has this
it does.
psychological barrier for people. So we
Hmm.
we want to kind of kick into that rather than slow it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. I think we talked about that earlier in the year, would have been in the first couple of months where I was talking about,
Mm.
it was a new year and, oh, okay, so now we've got to set some goals. What are you going to get up to this year, Jackie? And I was really over it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's what I wrote about. It's like, I just feel like I was following what was expected and I was just over it and tired. And that's, I think we referenced an external article in that, is that there is that psychological pressure in that new
Yeah.
year to start fresh, but really you can do it anytime. But there is that end point, and particularly, if you have a break, some of us sort of, if we have summer during that time, we have a long break here. So that helps as well. It either helps or hinders. Yeah, but so yeah, so you're spot on with that psychological, yeah, hump, I suppose you could say.
Mm. Yeah. Which I think is a really good segue into this because as I said, regardless of when you're doing the goals, it can be helpful to be many months ahead and seeing what are your team's challenges coming into the end of financial year or the end of year, that we can change and improve for next time around.
Yeah.
So do you want to take us through this fantastic model that you've come up with?
Okay. Well, I sort of give a bit of a rundown first, and then we'll
Yeah,
break it down. Is that all right?
yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly that.
So as you mentioned, I came up with this model called an action grid. So it helps you, your team, I guess, make sort of clearer calls on where to adjust or stay on course or maybe add something new in as well or stick with what you've already done. So this isn't just about reporting. It's about, I suppose, asking the right questions so you can choose which path you're heading. So there's 4 quadrants, I guess you could
Yeah.
call it, in the action grid. It's stop doing, start doing, do differently, and continue to do. Okay, and each quadrant sort of has influences as either being ineffective, currently effective, of high value, or of low value. So you'll see there's certain influences there. So with the stop doing, it's sort of it's currently providing low value and it's ineffective. That makes sense. Okay, time wasters, etc. I'll go into more detail shortly. There's start doing. Well, that's obviously of high value, but it's not
Mm.
currently happening. But, that's an opportunity, you could say. It could be gaps as well, okay, that you've identified. So you've got an opportunity to start doing something differently, which leads me to do differently. Okay, so that's in the high value influence, but it's currently not working well. So that's more of a tweak. So the intention is there, but you might be off on the execution a little bit. And then, of course, it's the additional, the fourth one, continue to do. So that falls in both the higher value and it's currently effective. So these are your strengths. So this is the additional one that I mentioned. Don't overlook them. Like, give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulations. Give yourself acknowledgement and the team, because if you're recognizing, oh, okay, this is working, these are our strengths, let's continue doing them. Okay, so that's the basic makeup of the, what did I call it? Action grid.
Action grid. If you didn't, it is now.
That's right, exactly.
We'll run.
Okay, do you want me to, will we talk about each one in a bit more detail?
Yeah, let's start at the beginning, because I feel like, again, there's this real little psychological element with each one of these that I've already picked up through that little description, and why I suppose approaching each one differently is going to have an impact on how all of this works out. So I've already got the cogs spinning. So
Oh,
let's just
no. Okay,
jump
let's see
in.
what you come
Really
up
happy. No,
with.
I've got a pen handy today,
Oh,
so this will be
no. All right, I'll explain it in my ever practical way, which
yeah,
is normally where we start, and then you can pull it apart and you can share like what you actually see as well, because this is
yeah.
why it works so well when you involve other people. I'm going to go off on a tangent. When you involve the rest of the team, they do see things from a different perspective, so this is great. Okay, let's do it. All right, the first one is stop doing. Okay, this falls in the influence section of the action grid of low value. Okay, it's not worth doing, and it's ineffective. It's not working. So why are we wasting our time? And as I said earlier, these are the time wasters. So they could be habits that you've formed, and like I can put my hand up for that. They say it's a 90-day cycle, and you sort of get in this habit of doing something that you don't need to be doing, or it can be done differently. So outdated habits, yeah, activities or tasks or things that you used to do may no longer be required. Things
Mm,
change all the time. So why are we doing this thing still? And I'm sure you've all come across this, and it particularly, and it gets highlighted maybe when you've got a new staff member. And
yeah,
yeah, I knew you'd relate to that, because as we hand something over to a new team member, they're the ones that's, because they're looking at it with fresh eyes, and I can see it now. They go, why are you doing it this way? And because we're stuck in it day to day, and it's easy for us, it's because it's just become a habit. And I mentioned before, outdated habits. Sometimes it's easier just to stick with it, what you know, and just keep doing it. Okay, even though you haven't recognized that, oh, I actually could be doing this a different way. So having another person's external perspective often highlights these low value and ineffective activities. So in the Lead the Standard newsletter, I did include a few examples.
mm,
So I'll go through them, but I'm sure Kelly's got a few more to add. So
I did find a pen.
there's things like I thought, like manually retyping audit findings into multiple systems. Okay, I had an example of that yesterday, doing some beta testing on a community group, and they wanted me to update my profile, my experience, my education, and the feedback I gave was, hey, it'd be really great if I could just upload my LinkedIn profile because you're making me redo something manually, and I don't have the time to do that. So it's that duplication of work. Chasing up paper-based forms when there's actually a digital option. Okay, we can move over. It's 2025. It's time to do it. It's even gone beyond digital option, I would say. And then what about if you're running training but we're not getting any feedback? Like, so what's the point? Like, how do we know this training's actually what the students' outcomes, or did it achieve the student outcomes? We don't know. It's just like a one-way street that way. We need to close the loop on that. So they're the few examples that I had in the newsletter. I think I used some in my introduction about how Kelly and I always find this with our procedures when we get a new person, because they always go, "What? Why are you doing it this way?" Like fresh eyes.
It's not even, and this is something I've learned the last probably 2 months, because we're now pumping out, like we're at that place where we're now pumping out new content, and I've been able to step back. I'm still doing some of the same activities and tasks operationally that I had done previously, but because I'm not doing that start to finish whole process, that stepping back has given me that opportunity to go, well, actually, I was just doing that because we just, as you said before, down focus, we've always done that. But being able to kind of stop back, I have found a lot of time wasters, a lot of outdated habits, a lot of activities that like we were just doing for the sake of doing, but now we've got more efficient ways that actually have bigger benefits for and better outcomes for our learners. So questions that people have been asking over the years that we haven't been able to provide the solutions for necessarily, we now have those. Yes. But because we have had more people doing different parts of that process, we've been able to stop and look at what is working, what is not working. And I think too, one of the things that last example you gave here is actually a really good example, which I'm going to try not to skip too far ahead with this one, was we did stop. Well, we've all had always asked for feedback and an evaluation loop with all of our training, but we stopped doing that a particular way because it was ineffective. We weren't getting any value, etc. But we stopped doing it entirely. We didn't change the way, which I think is probably more topic 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So if you are going through this stop doing phase, you need to be mindful of what that might have a flow-on effect with. And I suppose that kind of comes further down. But there are so many things when you just stop that you realize you could stop doing. These are time wasters. These are outdated habits. These activities no longer serve a purpose. These don't serve a purpose for me. There's somebody else that can do this. So, I think being able to have that pause and identify what these low value and ineffective examples are is really important. And again, we've talked about our resource register previously. Who's doing what, and does that need to be done by that person or at all? I think it might have even, look, it's been so long, it might have even been our last episode we talked about that. Being aware of what this is.
Do you think it's a little bit like, well, decluttering? Okay, I'm going to use this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is what I thought. Like, And you mentioned this to me recently because you moved out for 6 months or you've been moving a bit in the last few years. And I've had the same with both my in-laws moving out of their long-term homes into aged care facilities. And we've got a lot of stuff sitting in boxes. You had a lot of stuff sitting in boxes. And you even said to me recently, well, I haven't needed this in the last 6 months. Why do I need it now? And it was the same with both of my in-laws. It's like, let's say my mother-in-law, she was first. It's 2 years. We've still got a corner of our garage with some, I'll call it rubbish, in some tea chests. If she hasn't needed it for 2 years, why are we keeping it? So I sort of thought it aligns with this stop doing. And, we have the same thing as well, Kelly. If you
I've
load something into Asana and then we forget about it for a few months and then we go, oh, well, that's not relevant anymore. We're doing it differently. Oh, well, close that task. It's outdated. So it sort of aligns with that decluttering, sticking stuff in a box. And if you don't use it in 6 months or 12 months, well, you didn't need to do it to start with.
And another really good example of that is procedures. So we do a lot of, we have our procedures in OneNote, and I was, for these changes I mentioned before, was working through those processes and making sure I had what I needed documented in the right place. And we've had, with the recent update, some people had their access adjusted, I guess is probably the best way to say it. So I did a bit of a review with the team and said, can you just send me a screenshot of all of the notebooks that you have access to? And I realized that people weren't using some of them and they never used them. And as I went through, we had procedures that hadn't, like, that were drafted beginning of, like, their naming convention prefix, sorry, was 2023. Or we've got newsletters in there, 2023. I'm like, well, why is that still from then? Are people not using it, or if people, is it really efficient and we haven't needed to update it? So I started going through those things related to my role, and I've got a few of the other team members doing the same thing. If it's current, let's give it a new prefix so we know. We use a color coding system here as well. If it hasn't been changed in X amount of time, is it still relevant?
Yeah, that's right.
Can we stop doing that? Can we archive that?
Yeah.
So
That's the packing
yeah,
box, the color.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that was the stop doing. All right.
Yeah,
Absolute stop doing. But also be careful, as Kelly pointed out, you need to ensure it is a complete stop doing, or is it a do differently? Yeah. So it's figure out, well, do we not need this at all, or do we just need to tweak it? And I think we'll cover do differently in it. Not the next one after that, and we'll see how it aligns. So the next one is the opposite of stop doing, and it's obviously start doing. So that's on the opposite influencer. So it's of potentially, I'll say, high value because you've identified it as an opportunity, but it's not currently happening. Okay, but it has been identified as a gap and an opportunity, things that I suppose you've identified that could make a real difference, but you haven't actually done anything about it yet. So they potentially missed opportunities. It's time to do something about it. Okay. So the examples I gave in the newsletter were tracking trends in non-conformance data. That just sort of popped up with me there because, like, those trends, that data, I love dashboards and data, and we're collecting it all the time. It's there, but if you're not using it, well, you're missing those opportunities. So it's again, it sort of closes the loop. All right. So even though this is start doing, it's an element of it in that example. Okay. Another example I used was regular reviews of external risks, which you should really, if you're certified to any of the standards, this should be part of what you do in Clause 613. But if you're not, obviously it's a non-conformance. Start doing it, right? And then the final one was around setting objectives, but
Yeah.
don't do it yourself. So again, it's let's work with the team, consult with the staff about setting objectives, get their accountability and buy-in. Okay, not just telling them afterwards. All right, they were just 3 examples I came up with. I'm sure I'd really like to come up with an example of that we're not currently doing anything, but we are now. A good example, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, it's like identifying a course that people are asking about, something that's trending. So, for example, we should be releasing our ISO 42001, our AI management systems course this month.
In the next couple of weeks, yeah.
So that was identified that we need a course on that. So we had to start doing it. We've also got 45,003 psychosocial hazards. So we're identifying these additional courses that we need to put out there because people, it really, what's the word? Not supports. So it enhances what our current
Yeah.
students already have, and it's a great
Compliments.
yeah, they're great, as we call them, focus courses. So that's start doing, like
Mm.
just from yes, we've got the framework in place, but they're completely new content.
Yeah. Something that you highlighted there that I feel is really important is, as you said, we've got the next 12 months. We've planned out 12 months worth of new course releases. Some of them are revisions. Some of them are things that people have said that this would be really helpful to me, or I've done this course, but I want to know a little bit more about this. So we're doing a lot of, as you said, focus courses that complement, you're not necessarily certification, but they are things that complement those existing standards. If you're going to start doing something, start doing it with an intent and a purpose, not just for the sake of doing something.
Yeah.
You've said there, we've got that data. Use that data to support you and drive those decisions. Again, those courses that we're releasing are based on necessity. ISO have said we're upgrading this standard or updating this standard, this standard, this standard. Our students have said, I want this.
Correct.
We've got a clear demand, so we're giving that through. She said the laws are there as well. If you're going to do something, be purposeful about it. So it's all of these things to have a great idea, but if there's no end benefit for anybody, then is that going to fall back anytime soon into that time wasting, outdated habits,
It'll
or
be
no longer
low
serving a
value and
purpose?
ineffective.
Start doing. Yeah. So make sure that it is high value. It's not something you're doing, but make sure you prioritize it. And I'm just scrolling here on my run sheet to make sure that I'm not skipping ahead or double dipping. But we have fell into this trap with our AI sidekick. It was fantastic. We had this idea. We were well and truly ahead of the game. We rolled it all out. And then we got stuck at that marketing phase and sharing those, promoting it, and really sharing to people the benefits of what this tool could do. So if you're going to start doing something, you really need to make sure that you do have that plan in place, because that was a high value thing that admittedly we did slip up on a bit because we didn't really share that whole value with the team. So you've got, you mentioned they're consulting with the staff before setting the objectives. You really need to make sure that the team is aware of these things and those priorities. that are going to make a real difference. And again, get people excited, get people understanding, and as you said before, accountable for their part of that
Yeah.
process and that project. And we've been very intentional now with all of our course releases. So everybody knows in advance, okay, I know that this is coming out in this month. I know what I need to do. They're accountable for that.
Yeah.
They're responsible for that. We've been very transparent. So they know we have to start doing these things.
Yeah. It's
Um,
coming up. Yeah.
yeah, which is really exciting. So, yeah, there's no point in start doing if you're going to be doing it on the down low and the side, and we're not
Yeah. And you're not
fully.
following it through to the end. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I think too, being very intentional
Hmm.
about that project or whatever that looks like, will certainly make it more worthwhile. You have to have an intent, a purpose, and a goal.
True.
Otherwise, people don't jump on board with it, and it does slip through that
That's
crack.
right. And if you're not following it through to the end and committing, as you said, it ends up being a low value and ineffective. But
Mm,
possibly the idea wasn't low value and ineffective. It was the
correct.
execution that was low
Execution.
value and ineffective, which in saying is a good segue to do differently or
Yeah.
do better. Okay, which is
Stop. Huge. Thanks.
which is the third quadrant. So this is do differently. So this still has that high value, but it's not working well right now. So it's not something that you'll go, oh, this is rubbish. We're going to stop doing that. It's recognizing, like you just did, Kelly, that look, the intent is still high value. This does have legs, but our execution was a bit slack on this. So we need to revisit this and how do we do this differently? How do we do it better? Okay, so
What do we learn from it?
yeah, yeah. I think I did say the intention is right, the execution needs to change. These are ripe for improvement. These are the low hanging fruits, okay? Because you're still considering them high value, but you just, yeah, your execution needs some work. So these are if we're talking about the 80-20 rule, like this
Mm,
is that 20% that has the 80% leverage. It has the most leverage in this group. um, so it could be things like, these are the examples I used in the newsletter. Your management review is happening, but it's just a report. Like it's you just tick in the boxes. I say that all the time. Okay, your internal audits could be the same. You're just going through the motions. You're not actually seeing it as something that could be more strategic or improve the system. Um, this is something I see a lot in audits. They collect feedback from customers, but then they don't do anything with it. It's like, mm, what are you doing? Like, this has got some feedback here. What are you doing with that feedback? Oh,
mm,
I see it all the time. They think that just by going through the process of collecting feedback, they're actually collecting feedback. But the key is, well, what are you doing? And these are, again, as I said, these are ripe for improvements. Um, you set your objectives. This sort of falls into the previous one as well, but nobody actually knows about them. So you've got your objectives, and they could be, excellent goals, KPIs, quality objectives.
mm.
But if you're not sharing them with the team and other people aren't accountable for it, well, then, as I said, this one's ripe for improvement. You may find that a lot of things do fall into this scope, actually, is do
Mm.
differently, because it's all about plan, do, check, act, right?
This is my favorite one.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Topic 3 is my favorite one. I've written a few things down. Firstly, those people that are collecting the feedback are quite literally collecting their feedback. Um, if they're just getting it and sticking it in a box, it's a nice little collection that's going to stop doing it, guys. If you're just collecting it, stop doing it. Um, or yeah, action it. I laughed when you said that because we were talking about feedback yesterday, how we used to get a lot of feedback around the spelling in our course, telling us that we couldn't spell. It's not actually us guys, it's ISO and their indecisiveness around, are we American English, British English, what does that look like? But so rather than us getting all that feedback all the time and complaining internally about the complaints we're getting about the thing we've got no control over, we wrote a module that explained, hey guys, we can spell. ISO have decided this is how it goes. So we came up with a solution to that, and it has cut down significantly. We talked about the objectives there, but I want to simplify this one a bit further and simply go, this is where you hit your lessons learned.
Yes.
Like, we see this so often. We see it internally. I'm sure you see it all the time with audits. We've seen it with some students. We learn these lessons, and this comes back to that feedback too. And we write down, oh, this is the lessons we learned this month. Fantastic. And then we get to next month, and none of those lessons have been applied.
Frustrating.
Oh, so frustrating. What's the point in learning? Okay, if you're learning a lesson and you're not applying it, you're not learning anything.
No.
You're seeing stuff. So for me, this is why I said this is my favorite one. I talked earlier about being able to step back, and I've now looked at this. Actually, I can save the team member that's helping with the operational admin side of things. I actually saved her probably half a day, maybe a whole day in setting up the admin of a new course, because of the way that I was able to look at it and go, actually, this happens. And now our students get the benefit because they get extra credentials along the way. They can now have a better visibility of exactly where they're at with their courses. We're cutting down on duplication. So we'd learned this lesson around these new products we've been doing for a while, but now we've been able to implement it across the board. So we've learned that lesson. We had, again, a discussion yesterday. We had decided we were going to roll out courses one particular way, and it hasn't quite worked out the way that we had wanted to, with the intent that we'd wanted to, because we learned that the way that we were doing it before was the best way to do it. So we've gone back and gone, actually, yeah, we tried it differently, but that didn't work how we thought it would work. So we've acknowledged that what we were doing was the best way for that outcome. We're not stopping doing the other thing. We're kind of continuing, but we're doing it differently.
Yes.
So it really is about being honest with yourself and your team and whatever that looks like, your customers, etc., around, look, this does have value, but it's not working. But we really need to focus on, how do we make it work?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not just about it's not working well right now.
No. And that's why it still falls in the high value. And that's why I think Plan, Do, Check, Act falls brilliantly in here, because you have a plan, that intention, you do it, you implement and execute, but you've got to check it and go, okay, is this working? Did we miss something? And then rejig, do differently, and then put it out there again. So it's this constant cycle. So a lot of things possibly fall in the do differently. Yeah. This is the big one, I think.
Yeah. And if you don't do that act part, then
yes.
If you just plan and
or
do
you
it
don't
and check
do the check stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
if you don't do the check, you're not even going to get to the, I know it's working.
No, you're just forgetting about it. It's still too hard. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. One of the biggest frustrations at the moment is people acknowledging something's not working, but not changing.
Yeah, and it's okay to say it's not working. It's okay to say, look, I think we can do this better. Like, it's just part of the process. It's not a failure on anyone's part. It's just a normal process. So
you can't grow if you don't learn.
No, absolutely not. Okay, so that's 3 of the quadrants. The last one is continue to do. So this falls in the high value and it's effective. So let's hope you've got a lot of things in this corner. Okay, these are your strengths. These are the things that you're actually doing well and they're working. Okay, and I was going to put 4 now. I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but things change, your business
Yeah.
changes, the external influences change on your business, your competitors change, your suppliers change, activities change, locations, products. So this is a constant. Okay, you might in this context that we're talking about within management review go, yeah, this is really working, let's keep doing it, but it doesn't mean that next time you won't revisit it and you might go, no, we can make this even better. Let's do it differently. Okay. But at this point, you're recognizing your strengths. So look after it. You probably don't need to touch it. As it is, it's chugging along nicely. Okay. So in the newsletter, I had something about a risk register, like as examples. A risk register, this is really simple. It's regularly reviewed. People are using it. I actually see this all the time, more so for non-conformance registers in some businesses that I audit. It's like, oh wow, this is great. There's so many recorded here. People are actually using it. And a lot of different people are using it. And they're actually getting reviewed each month at the team meeting, and they're getting closed out. Like, it's working well. It's very transparent. Okay. Another example I used were really great document control processes. Okay. Whatever process they have in place to control their documents, it makes it easy for people to find what they're looking for. It's really clear that it's current and so on. Okay. So there's no need to change. Nothing's popped up. Or it could be your internal audits, actually. So, I actually see the opposite more so than continue to do. But if your internal audits are actually identifying things, and they're objective and they're identifying non-conformances and they're promoting real improvement, and you're not just going through the process and going, oh yeah, let's quick, let's tick this off. It really annoys me looking at internal audits where they actually go, no, everything's fine. Like that's impossible. There's always an opportunity to improve. So that's why if your internal audit process is actually picking up on real improvements, well, it could possibly be, let's continue to do it this way. We don't need to change anything.
Yeah. I think one thing that is really important here as well, we talked about it right at the beginning, is this one's really important for, I suppose, workplace psychology. If you're focusing on we've got to stop doing that, we've got to do this better, your morale's going to start to sort of sink a little bit. You need to acknowledge these high value things that are effective and celebrate these strengths.
Absolutely.
And really, this worked this time. We got a great result. Let's do this again next time. Let's not you said not reinvent these. Where else can I apply these fantastical magical unicorns across the business? Because this is great. So I feel this one's super important. Don't make it up because you feel that it's, I feel that it's this way. Make sure that, as you said before, these are data driven, or you've got outputs to support that.
Yes.
But this is really important for morale. And I'll give an example for this. We recently had we send out a weekly report about our sales outcomes, and then we've got an end of month report. And one of the reports that went out did have a bit of a kind of a deflated negative tone because a goal wasn't met. Now, we have stretch goals. I want to highlight all of our goals are stretch goals, so that there is a bit of we can do better within them. So we're aware of that, but there was that mentality of, we didn't do this. When I think, Jackie, you raised the question in our team meeting the next week, well, what did we do well? The list was much bigger than the what didn't go
Exactly.
well. We're going to try this again. Okay, let's keep doing that. That worked. Let's do it again. this is, don't always focus on the negative. Acknowledge the things that didn't work, but try really hard not to focus on those. Think about the things that did work and see how you can apply that elsewhere, because that's what's going to bring the team up and get everybody on board,
Absolutely.
and celebrating all of these
Yeah,
things. That's what's going to get the action leading into the end of the
correct.
year.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, because, it sort of coincides, as you said earlier, we're getting towards that end of year where you're looking at taking it easy, and it sort of gets a really stressful before then. So it helps with your focus, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then oh, next year, well, that worked well this year. Don't have to worry about that next year.
Yeah.
That's one less stress off the
Yes.
shoulders.
Yes. Okay, so what do we want people to do with this information, Kelly?
I love this new little addition. I
Oh.
think this is fantastic. I love it. Let's give some homework. I think I did this a
Okay.
while ago, and I did have a couple of DMs, but I love that you've thrown it back in there in
Okay,
a
that's
different
good.
context.
That's good feedback. That might be
You're
what
welcome.
is it?
You're going to
Continue to
collect
do.
that, or are you going to apply it?
Because I don't know if I did it in the last one now.
We'll
We
have a
shall
look.
see. But yeah, like what are you going to do with this information? It's all very well Kelly and I yabbering on about, well, this is what each means, but I think you can actually use this action grid sort of as a bit of a mapping tool. So, you can use the tool, print it out, do whatever, or you can just draw it on a piece of paper. Okay. Or make your own pretty one if you like. But then what I think would work is if you come up with, I don't know, I said 5 to 10 key activities from your management system. Okay. It could be your internal audits. It could be management review. It could be your reporting. It could be your objectives. It could be your compliance obligations, operational, any competence and organizational knowledge, anything within the management system. Okay. You could do it as per the clauses. You could do it as per your own activities or processes, completely up to you. But then for each one, I want you to ask, is this currently effective? Is it working? And is it of high value? Okay. And where I'm taking you is to add it into the quadrant that you think it belongs in. Okay. So you should end up with stuff, these activities, these areas in your management system that will be, okay, yeah, I think we can do differently. This is working well. It's of high value, but there's some opportunities for improvement there. Or it's, oh, this is really working well. That will go in you continue to do. And one might be, oh my God, this is a disaster. What were we thinking? Let's just stop doing it. Or it's, look, this isn't relevant anymore. Things have moved on. It's outdated. Let's stop doing it. Or someone might identify something, go, oh, we should actually do this. This is an opportunity. This is a gap. We've been getting feedback from our customers about this, for, as Kelly and I use it as example, this course that they're interested in. So that goes in the start doing. So you'll end up with a map of where each of these activities belong, and then you can use it. You can use it as it is, but I've sort of based this around your management review as well, because then you can ask other people to do the same thing, and then you can actually, it's sort of like a SWOT essentially.
I was just
Yeah,
going to say it's an actionable SWOT
yeah,
analysis.
it's a bit
It
of a
doesn't just
better
sit on the
tool.
wall. It's
Yes,
actionable.
yeah,
Oh, funny
exactly.
that. It's an action grid.
Yeah. We've actually created a new tool out of these questions. I don't know whether it's out there, but already I know the questions are out there because I pinched the questions, but the actual tool itself helps you, as Kelly said, it's an actionable tool to help you with your decision making. So yeah, have a go at it. I encourage you to, and I'd love to get your feedback on, well, what worked, what didn't work, yeah, with this action grid, hence why it's called an action grid. Do you think that will work, Kelly?
I love it. I'm actually thinking there's a few spaces that we could apply that. There's a couple of team members I might get to test that out.
Hmm.
And I'm already, yeah, as we've been going, I've been taking notes myself about things that, yeah, as we hit each topic, that's something that falls into that. That's
Yeah.
something that falls into that. So, yeah, stopping and pausing or multitasking, as
Yes.
it be. Yeah,
Yes.
this is really a good one.
Okay.
Well done, Jackie.
Oh, continue to do. I must remember because I don't think I added some. Sometimes that action thing might not be relevant to the model, but I thought it was very, very relevant for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely.
mm. Okay, so
That's
just to summarize, recap, yeah,
Yeah.
we went through the 4 things, can't think of a better word, the 4 questions, okay, to
For
ask
action.
yourself, okay. We talked about stop doing, and that was a low value, ineffective stuff. That's a time waster. It might be something you do that you realize, oh, that's not necessary anymore, like an outdated habit. An activity, something that you do that no longer serves a purpose. Okay, so we've moved on. Something's changed. The other one was to start doing, so that is high value, but it's not currently happening, so you don't know whether it's effective or not. But these are new opportunities, I guess you could call them, things that, could make a real difference, but you haven't actually started doing them yet. The third one was do differently. So that is still high value, but it could be working better. Okay, and this is the one that Kelly and I feel a lot of stuff comes into. This is your plan, do, check, act. This is your continual improvement. Like the intention is there, the intention is right, but your execution might need a little bit of work. Okay, these are the low hanging fruit. And then the final one was continue to do. So these are the things that you recognize that you are already doing well. It's of high value, and however your execution or whatever your execution, it's been effective. So these are your strengths. So don't forget about them. Don't overlook them. They should still cycle through to review each time because, again, they could end up in the stop doing essentially if things change or get outdated. It doesn't mean that they were a bad idea. It just means that the world has moved on or the external influences have moved on, technology has moved on, etc. So
Mm.
they're the 4 that we covered. So I'm actually going to hand it back to Kelly, but before I do, as always, before I do hand it back to you, I just want to say anyone can follow the standard. Why don't you be the one to lead the standard?
Oh, I like that. Thank you, Jackie. That's a wrap for another episode of Lead the Standard. We hope you've enjoyed our energy today after our break. It's nice and refreshed. Today, we have unpacked a deceptively simple set of questions. Stop, start, shift, and continue. We've explored how they transform a style management review into a focused and forward-looking leadership tool. Personal highlights for me this week, I'm going to actually cut it down to 4 words. Intent, purpose, honest reflection, and motivation. And I think if you do that final activity that Jackie shared with us with those 4 or 5 words in mind, that action plan is really going to set you and the team up for success leading into the end of the year, whatever that looks like for you. So thank you again, as always, Jackie, for guiding us through that little action grid. It doesn't always just reporting isn't the be all and end all. Decision making and reflection really do help for motivation coming into the end of the year. Next time, we are continuing a conversation with some practical follow on. I do believe we're going to be talking about how to plan remote, on-site, and hybrid audits under the new ISO 19011. I'm really excited about this one. It's not quite what we expected. So we're going to be talking a bit about logistics, updated guidance, how to blend some formats without losing, again, quality or intent. You don't want to miss that one. Make sure you are following the show, please, while you're there. We'd love it if you could share this episode, leave us a review, hit that follow button before you leave the page, just so you're notified of the new episode when it becomes available. And Reddy has said we're moving to a fortnightly structure from here on in. So until we do see you next time, take care, stay curious, and keep leading the standard. Thanks, Jackie. Bye for now.
Bye.